5 on a Saturday afternoon. I'm WESH 2 First Warning Meteorologist Eric Burris. Wanted to pop on here and just chat a little bit about Tropical Depression 9 and the 5 p.m. advisory. Here's the latest information. It is riding along the northern shoreline of Cuba, and certainly the satellite presentation has gotten better looking. Thus, we think that Tropical Depression 9 is continuing, albeit slowly, to get better organized and to develop into Tropical Storm Imelda later on. Here's a look at the forecast, excuse me, from the National Hurricane Center. Expected to become Imelda tonight as early as, and then lift up the shoreline, staying off of our Florida East Coast during that time frame, but lift up the shoreline and continue to strengthen, continue to develop. As of right now, the latest guidance is that Monday during the day, it lifts north along the east coast of Florida, and then eventually by Tuesday into Wednesday, make a hard right turn and recurve, staying out to sea away from the Carolinas. Now, this was a big shift around the forecast thinking from yesterday. This was a very, very good adjustment, certainly something that we like very, very much. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to kind of take you through the day here and look at all of the hits, runs, and errors, and then what we can do is we can take and extrapolate this out, and we'll do some question and answer and do that whole kind of fun thing, okay? So there's a look at the latest forecast thinking. As far as advisories go, there is tropical storm warnings in effect now for Palm Beach County in South Florida. And for our areas, notice the yellow shades. Those yellow shades are tropical storm watches. That means tropical storm conditions are possible within the next 48 hours time. The National Hurricane Center went out saying that they may need to extend the tropical storm warnings based on guidance here as early as tonight, if not even perhaps into tomorrow. So at this point in time, our coastline under tropical storm watches, again, meaning that tropical storm conditions are possible, okay? It's one of those cases where, I think that this is probably the best way to look at it when we kind of break down the threats, right? The wind gust threats for us are mainly along our East Coast areas. Highlighted in yellow there, those are areas that could see 40, 50, 60 mile per hour wind gusts. Again, I want to make sure that I'm very clear here. This should stay off the shoreline, okay? All of the guidance that we're seeing does that. However, remember, these storms are not dots on a map. They are wide, right? And so in this case, even if the center of circulation stays off the coastline, we will get some impacts in our area, okay? In terms of chances for hurricane force winds, tropical storm force winds, let's just kind of roll this through time. And from there, let's zoom in a little bit. This is the tropical storm force wind chances. Notice our inland spots are relatively low threat, right? Like a 5, 10, 15% threat, 20% threat. But along the coastline, we get into a 30% threat for tropical storm force winds. And that's one of the reasons why it's a high enough percentage that we're talking about, yes, the need for tropical storm watches, okay? In terms of hurricane force winds, thankfully that threat is next to none. This is not going to be a big hurricane event for us here in Central Florida. So let's do this though. Let's take our Futurecast model and let's run it through. I see a lot of questions about how much moisture it's going to bring, all of that. So what we've done here is we've taken our Futurecast model and we've overlaid not only the wind speeds, but the wind direction, okay, just to kind of give you an idea. And through this evening, notice some passing showers, a nice light breeze, nothing significant, okay? This is going to be midnight. Looking good. Tomorrow morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock, we're good. A little bit of rain. I will add that meteorologist Cam Tran and I will have live team coverage on Tropical Depression 9, which at that point in time will more than likely be on its way to Imelda. But at this point in time, it's a light breeze and nothing more. That's tomorrow morning, okay? For your planning purposes, Tomorrow's not going to be anything wild. It's not going to be anything bad. It's just going to be a nice light breeze. Notice there's 9:30, some passing downpours perhaps along the coast, some of those outer bands. And in there, notice 10:30, for example, Daytona Beach gusting to 17, St. Cloud gusting to 20. Okay, that's fine. Through tomorrow, just some gusty showers, some little pockets. And I would add, too, that with tropical weather, you can really get torrential rains in these downpours. Okay, so very important to note there. From there, overnight Sunday into Monday, we're looking good. Now, Monday morning, we're back to work or we're back to school, and there's no reason that we won't have school. Okay, I want to make sure that that's clear. This is not going to be like fall break or anything like that. Okay, here's 5 o'clock in the morning though. Pockets of heavier rainfall. Notice the winds breezy, gusty at times. But as the storm system lifts north, watch these wind speeds picking up. This is 10:30 in the morning. Now look at the numbers, right? 23 miles an hour, 27 miles an hour. There's the core of what should be Imelda off the shoreline. 1 p.m. gusting to 32 Daytona Beach, gusting to 34 in Titusville. Watch Monday afternoon, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. This is going to be after school activities, bus ride home. I don't think that this is going to be dangerous. Okay. So again, I don't need us worrying about school dismissal, anything like that. There's going to be pockets of heavy rainfall. There's going to be some gusty winds, certainly things that we can navigate. Okay. And then from there, as the storm system is basically right in line with us, it's going to be during the evening shift. Chief Meteorologist Tony Manolfi and Meteorologist Marquise Mita will be covering this. And look at those gusts, right? 38 mile an hour gust, Titusville, 36 mile per hour gust in New Smyrna Beach. That right there is in that range of tropical storm force, which is why tropical storm watches are posted in our area. Again, not expecting those to become warnings, though it could be based on modeling and all of that, certainly. Okay. And then through Monday late night, gusty, downpours around. Again, not a direct hit for us. Here's 5:30 Tuesday morning. Same kind of idea. Waking up to gusty winds and some tropical downpours. Did I see a 40 mile per hour gust in there? I thought I did. Maybe I didn't. Either way, gusty, right? Tuesday on the backside of it, still gusty. Tuesday on the backside of it, still gusty. And then that's as far out as Futurecast goes. Okay, so for now, definitely watching the progression. It is not a tropical storm yet. However, it is expected to become a tropical storm. Okay, so Priscilla's asking timing. I just took you through Monday. Gusty winds and downpours. Tuesday, as it exits, gusty winds and downpours. Okay, so that's where we are at. What other questions do y'all have this evening before we get on with our lives? I will also add that I've got you taken care of here. All right, but Chief Meteorologist Tony Manolfi will have another live update for the intermediate advisory coming up tonight at 8 o'clock. So your first warning weather team is here for you, okay? I want to make sure you understand that we are here to cover the storm in a no-hype manner. We want to make sure you know what's going on. There's a lot of scary stuff on social media, and thus we want to make sure to cut through that fat and make sure you know exactly how this plays out. Latest model trends. Let's talk about that very quickly here. Okay. And the bold yellow line is the consensus of all of the current model runs, and then all of the current model run. And then kind of the faded lines are model run back, model run back, model run back. So notice we have had about 5-6 runs of this up the East Coast and then right turn. And all of the paths northbound have been very consistent. Okay. So the question, here, if you look, they've all been right in line with each other, right? Where does it make that right-hand turn? That's been a bit of a question, but the overall consensus does make that right-hand turn. But just notice that East Coast turn, how far does it go before it turns? That's a question. But overall, we are very confident that this should stay off of our East Coast. Okay. Velisa is asking about thoughts for North Carolina. For now, the consensus and the actual forecast itself are looking good. So that's great news. Let's just hope that continues to be the case, right? All right. So what about Central Florida? Gusty downpours. Yeah, that's what we were talking about just a couple of minutes ago. All right. Jacob, you know what? I will respectfully disagree with you, but that's okay. You're allowed to have your opinion. I'm allowed to have mine. Tom's asking, still thinking MCA will be good Monday early afternoon flights? Listen, gusty winds and some passing showers, tropical downpours. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Susan's asking if there's anything behind it. When we get into a storm that's close, I really want to put all of my focus on it. I will say that when I was looking at data earlier, there's nothing that is significant enough to catch my attention, which is fine. Okay. So just want to make sure that we're here. We're just tracking everything together. Okay. So again, Tropical Depression 9 is not Tropical Storm Imelda yet. However, is expected to get there this evening. Should become a Category 1 hurricane. Let's briefly look. I didn't pull up the intensity models, but might as well. Since we're here, might as well look and see. And the intensity models have been relatively low in terms of where this storm system goes compared to Umberto, right? The models are still trying to bring this up to a Category 1 hurricane. That's exactly what the National Hurricane Center is doing. So the intensity models are kind of lining up with their forecast, which is definitely fine. But for those of you asking about different counties and things, there is a reason that our coastline is under tropical storm watches. Okay. Hannah's asking, Brevard County has a tropical storm watch. How will they have school? So at this point in time, remember, a tropical storm watch means that tropical storm conditions are possible. Okay. This storm will stay off the shoreline. That's the overall idea right now. All of the model guidance is that. If we look at our Futurecast, for example, and everything is subject to change, of course, but based on the best data that we have, the storm system will stay off the shoreline. So some squally weather. Remember, a tropical storm watch is different than a tropical storm warning. And even if it's a tropical storm warning, understand that we're just talking about tropical storm conditions. I know that a lot of the school districts, when they close school, it's because buses can't handle sustained winds of 35 miles an hour. At the moment, we're looking at gusts in the 35 to 37 range. The other thing is shelters. And at the moment, we have not had any kind of a need for shelters. And again, this is something that can progress. Notice our Futurecast, okay? And let's just roll this through time here. Okay, Monday, that's 6 a.m. It will be over or near Grand Bahama, intensifying, probably becoming, at least on this, a strong tropical storm. There's lunchtime Monday, sitting off the coast of Brevard by Monday evening, kind of stalling there a little bit, and then starting to pull away a bit earlier than some of the other models by Tuesday morning. So not making it as far north. So yeah, Taylor's talking about storms wobbling. There's a lot of questions, but at the moment, we're looking good. And I think that that's a very, very important point to make here, is at the moment we are absolutely looking good. Okay. So that's the very latest on the storm system. Okay. Again, we're looking good in Central Florida. Tropical storm force wind gusts and some of these feeder bands, sure, but that's where we're at. Okay. All right. So meteorologist Marquise Mita with the very latest on WESH 2 News at 6. Chief meteorologist Tony Manolfi will be back live on all the social channels coming up on 8 o'clock, right, for the intermediate advisory. I believe he'll also do one at 11 o'clock tonight. I will be with you tomorrow morning on WESH 2 News Sunrise. Meteorologist Cam Tran will be joining us, and we're going to have live team coverage. And then, of course, we'll have updates on the social channels throughout. Corey's asking, we can take a look at that very briefly, and then I'm going to run to dinner with the family. But we can take a look at, here's the American GFS model. Keeping it off the shoreline, though I will point out this is current run. This is run before. This is run before. So it may have edged just a little bit closer to us, the American GFS model. Let's look at the European model. And the European keeps it pretty decent off the shoreline, bombs it out, and then pulls it out to sea, kind of recurves it around, and then brings it back into like North Carolina. So that's not lovely, but I digress. All right, ensembles, they're always the best tool for weak systems like this. All right. And it looks like, if anything, the ensembles, they're going to be hugging the coastline. So we have to see how strong, how long, that sort of a thing. That's the GFS ensembles. and then they sweep it out. So definitely one thing that we're watching is the ensembles and kind of how they progress. But there is some question in how close does this get to us, right? Yeah. So again, I would say things are looking good, but nothing is yet set in stone, right? In terms of that's the GFS ensembles, let's look at the European ensembles. European, it gets close. Notice that the European ensemble members are just west of the overall European model. So, you kind of have to play it by ear and see how that goes. But the ensembles have wanted to be further west than the deterministic model. All this to say, this storm could be a little closer to us. So just don't be surprised if we end up having to deal with a little bit of a gustier setup along the coastline. For the inland spots, this does not seem to be a big player, but our coastal communities, this is definitely a very rough surf event. This is definitely a dangerous, potentially life-threatening rip current event. This is going to be a situation where gusty downpours. I don't suspect that we're going to get into like flooding rains, but there's going to be pockets where these tropical downpours will just throw such torrential rain down. So don't be surprised for that. Vicky, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Mike's asking possibility concerns for A1A washouts. To be honest with you, beach erosion in the wrong spot with the wrong wind direction, particularly in like Flagler County, that can happen. So this can be a very impactful event at the beach for erosion type events, right? And I've already talked to some of our news managers regarding that. All right, let's look at some winds real fast. Let's head back over to the deterministic model, GFS. We'll do surface, wind, gust, swath. Yeah, and from here, let's switch from this over to cities. All right, so there you go. So there's the GFS's like peak wind gust swath, and 40, 49. These are peak wind gusts. So according to the GFS, we could be 40 to 50 mile per hour gusts at the beach, whereas it's more of a 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gust inland. Let's go to the European. Notice the European wind gust swath is in the 30 to 40 mile per hour range at our beaches. So again, like I said, we're not dialed in here. Nothing is locked in. So we're just kind of watching the trends on this. And that's why we're here covering with extra coverage, okay? To make sure that with each of these model trends, we let you know where we are, okay? All right, so that's the very latest. Don't go into the ocean. Next update from the National Hurricane Center comes at 8 o'clock. Chief Meteorologist Tony Manolfi will have you covered there. And of course, your morning team will be with you in the morning. All right? Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Don't buy into any hype, okay? Just know that WESH 2 will be here with you every step of the way for every storm that ever threatens us. All right? Make it a great Saturday evening. Go